freaking first cut. Golly. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your mega preview pod for this week's Arnold Palmer Invitational Storylines. Best bets, one and done. Joining me to break it all down, Patrick McDonald is here. Patrick, hello.
Gentlemen, 4 wide,
Oof.
around the turn. It's good to be back and talk about API this week.
Things are happening. Look who is infiltrating on a Tuesday. Mark Immelman is here. Hello, Mark.
Patrick, I'm just happy to get into the final lap 4 wide over here. You guys have ditched me for a while, so it's good. It's good to be back with you guys. Man, look, I have a handful of tournaments that I circle on the calendar, and the Arnold Palmer Invitational is one of them.
We were sick of you beating us up in the one and done. We didn't want you to beat us up in the betting stuff as well. So we were keeping you far, far away from the Tuesday show.
True. It's true.
That's really what happened. Kyle Porter is here. And if you are not watching on YouTube, which you absolutely should be, honestly, you don't even have to watch. Just go subscribe. I don't even really care if you watch. But if you're watching,
good pitch.
Hey, listen, if you're watching, you are seeing a white swinging Pete hat on the head of Kyle Porter, an elite cap.
Yeah, it's an amazing Ricky Fowler resurgence. We had like 5 OSU guys in the top 10 on the live leaderboard last weekend. So I gotta show my support for that. No, it's a great hat. I think they sell them online, huh, Rick?
They do. Last time I don't think it's the official website, Kyle, but there is a website that sells Oklahoma State swinging Pete, or I guess he's not just swinging Pete. He does a lot of things.
Yeah, we've gone into this before. If you Google swinging Pete hat, they've got them all. And the one, I don't know, I don't see it on here, but they've got one that's like the old school, like 1970. They've got a Ricky Fowler one on here. So yeah, go check it out. It's good stuff.
So quick question, because I've seen it from far. I haven't seen it close. Does he have a golf club and a pistol in his hand, or just the golf club?
Ooh.
Just the golf club.
His pistol is holstered, I believe.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's what he uses to fix ball marks.
That's right.
I see.
Is a pistol. Yeah, exactly.
He's got the pistol within reach, but he is two hands on the club, as he should be, swinging it very, very well. Gentlemen, we've got so much. We've got so much coming in hot here. API, the 4th official designated / elevated event of the season, the 3rd in the last 4 weeks. Patrick, we'll start here with you. We've mentioned this before, 44 of the top 50 players in the world. I'm really starting to get used to all the top players being in one spot. Why didn't we do this before?
It's a fair point, Rick. And as kind of the pseudo commissioner of the PGA Tour yourself, head of scheduling, rules, events,
branding, trophies.
That actually might lie on your shoulders. Why didn't you pitch this earlier, Rick? But this is kind of the first event where it feels like the players are adding to their schedule, right? Patrick Cantlay has never played here. Justin Thomas hasn't played here in a while. Xander Schauffele. So I'm interested to see kind of this feels going to be different. Like the Genesis was always going to be the Genesis. Phoenix was always going to be Phoenix. But this is the week I think that you're actually going to feel the designated status with the tournaments.
Rick, what Patrick says there is so true, because back in the day, when I was young and you kids were, toddlers, this was a designated event without being designated, because it was Arnold's event and everyone came and played. Then I wouldn't say it lost its luster, but sadly, when Mr. Palmer passed away, folks kind of took it off the calendar. And you had the regulars like Ricky and Rory and Jason Day and Ernie. They'd sort of come and play a little bit out of deference to Arnold Palmer. And I think the fact that everyone's back now and it's designated just kind of reestablishes it to the event that it truly is, which is one of the preeminent tournaments on a great golf course on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, we've got the graphic up here, as Patrick alludes to. John Rahm making his second start. Cantlay his first. Xander his second. JT his first since 2015. Jordan Spieth just his second start. Kyle, I think you were kind of getting at this a bit on Twitter last week, but I think there was a general concern around the elevated events and the other events, the Honda Classic, what we saw last week. I have to admit, I think this is going better than I anticipated. I think it's probably going better than what the PGA Tour anticipated. There's a thing in sport where you have expectation, and if you can exceed expectations, you've done a great job. My expectations for the Honda Classic are not very high. And when you get great storylines, and it's Chris Kirk, and it's Eric Cole, and it's all these other, like, as long as we know what we're getting ourselves into when the week starts, I'm cool with it. And there's still an opportunity for those expectations to be exceeded.
I mean, didn't you say this at Phoenix, Rick, where you were talking about identity, and you sort of articulated, and I agree. I thought this was a great way to say it, is that every event needs an identity. Now, you were talking more specific than probably what we've seen, right? The lean into the 10th hole at Riviera, or I can't lean into how difficult Bay Hill is. I don't know, whatever the thing is, you were talking about a very specific identity. But I think in a lot of ways, the elevated or designated versus non-designated has provided a sort of identity, like within a group of events. And I think that identity has really, it's provided some, for me, I said, here's what I said on Sunday. It's provided some context for the tour as a whole. And I think one of the problems that the tour got into, and understandably so, but one of the problems the tour got into over the last 20 years as Tiger brought all this money into the league, is they tried to expand and keep having more and more and more and more events, because that's what their members want them to do, right? And the problem with that is that when you dilute something, everything looks the same. And when everything looks the same, there's no context, there's no ability to kind of move up and down the hierarchy. And we see it this week very clearly. Eric Cole finishes second last week. He's into the Arnold Palmer field. That's a freaking big deal. It would have been a big deal before last year, like Patrick said, but it's an even bigger deal now, because what if Eric Cole goes out and finishes in the top 5 or the top 10 of a $20 million event? All of a sudden, that's like life-changing stuff for him. And that is really good context that we didn't have as much of before. And I think the tour could have even more of in the future.
Yeah, so I think we're doing a lot better than at least I originally thought. Just a couple of elevated events in, and Patrick, there's no shortage of names here at the top of this field. I'll start with Rory McIlroy. He's been kind of pinballed around in the world rankings recently. 3 starts ago, he was the number 1 player in the world. 2 starts ago, he was the number 2 player in the world. 1 start ago, after his most recent start, he was the 3rd ranked player in the world. So he's got every spot on the podium taken care of in his last 3 starts. Only Rory has a disappointing Phoenix and Riviera by finishing inside like the top 30 of both of them, but he's looking to get his footing at a place he's generally dominated at.
World number 3, Rory McIlroy. You have to wonder what's wrong with him, right?
What's gone wrong?
Golly.
He's broken.
Unbelievable. But it was kind of just some, putting mishaps there on the West Coast. Tee to green, he seemed fine and dandy. I think he was leading tee to green halfway through the Genesis before he kind of skirted off there on the weekend. And like you said, this has kind of been his playground throughout the years. No finish worse than T27 in 8 prior appearances, I think. 2018 win, and just always seems to factor. And it's just a driver's paradise. You think about when Bryson kind of overpowered this place. You have Rory, you have Tiger winning here 8 times. So if there's ever a spot for Rory McIlroy to, I guess, relatively get right, he still has 4 wins in his last 15 worldwide starts, which is kind of good. It would be this week at Bay Hill.
Well, just to jump in here, I think there is he hasn't played poorly, but compared to your Morikawas and your Homas and your Rahms, he hasn't played particularly great. He won in Dubai, which was good. That's not a tremendous worldwide event. So I think it's like a decently kind of big stretch for him these next 4 weeks before the Masters, because you got this, you got players, you got match play, and really, I mean, for him, it's the Masters is the one that matters. So how is he playing leading into that? I think this next 4 weeks is kind of big for Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, just committed to the match play officially. I saw on Twitter. I think last year was the match play the week before the Masters last year. No, they would never do that. Right?
No.
But
he
Rory,
missed the cut at the Texas Open.
But he did. Okay, he did play the week prior though, which is something he hadn't done historically.
Yeah, and that was the week that I think for the Masters he changed his ball. Right, he changed the ball after the Texas Open because he was. I forgot what the deal was, spin or I don't know. He went back to an old, I think TaylorMade TPX ball.
Yeah, he went back to a ball that spun more, make the wedge.
There you go.
Pretty good. Mark, you've once said that Rory McIlroy could roll out of bed and finish inside the top 10 at Eastlake. I would argue same can be said about here at Bay Hill. Let me read you just the last handful of years. T13, T10, T5, T6, victory, T4. We've got the graphic up on the screen. This is a place where the DNA of Rory McIlroy certainly thrives.
Yeah, despite his, as Patrick calls it, slump. I had to battle really hard with myself not to pick him in one and done this week. I was on hand for back in the day radio when he won back in 17, I think it was, and he put together a 64 that I think I've said it on the show before. That is probably one of the best rounds I've ever got to call in my life. Just the way he played and stuff. And I remember saying to him afterwards, and now I'm going to share this with you guys and probably skewer myself. But as I was about to interview him, my producer comes in my ear and he goes, Rory led in every major strokes gain category to win this tournament. And he wasn't even in the final group, just bear in mind, okay? And so I pointed it out to him, and I remember him saying in the interview, and he looks down at my clipboard and he goes, well, that's good. I guess that's pretty good. And then he said, but you know what? The golf course just fits me. And I feel comfortable around here. And it's something about the shape of the holes. You know, a lot of the holes around this place, there's trouble down the left-hand side. I mean, by my count, there's like 7 of them. So almost, I mean, I could argue that half of the holes have all the trouble on the left. And Rory likes to draw it. But a lot of holes turn from right to left, kind of in Arnold Palmer style. So when he sets up on the tee, he feels like he can swing away, even though there's trouble down the left-hand side. And man, that 64 he shot, it was freaking virtuoso. And he drove it great, hit his irons well. He just seems to read the greens down there well too. So look, he's an attractive prospect at Bay Hill this week, even though he hasn't had his best stuff just yet.
It reminds me a bit, Kyle, of, so I must admit, I finally got around to watching the 8th episode of Full Swing, which I had been putting off because I felt once I had watched it, I was done. Right. I wanted to look forward to it. And your bucket hat is just pure top notch stuff.
Yeah. My wife loved that.
I love it.
I think her response was, you're going to be in 200 million homes. And that's the thing that you chose to wear on your head. So that was good.
It was beautiful. I rewound it a handful of times. The other thing is Rory kind of talked about, playing with freedom and what that allows him to do, especially when it was the Tour Championship. And he was at times 9 shots back. I think he made a triple out of the gate on hole number 1. And when he gets to play with a little bit of freedom, when he gets that bounce in his step, it's really scary stuff for everybody. But that's the sick part about golf, right? Is you can't trick yourself into playing with freedom.
Yeah. No, you can't. And I think Rory has reached the stage in his career where the freedom for him in non-majors comes pretty easily. Like, I don't know that there's a non-major that's really that big of a deal. I mean, obviously they're all competitive and they've become, especially this year, really, really good events. But I don't think there's anything that really like mentally affects him in non-majors. And so that's why you want to see, again, over these next 3 or 4 weeks. Like, I was just looking at his history at Genesis and Phoenix. It's not amazing, but these were 2 of his kind of lower half performances. If you just look at his stops at both of those events. So all that to say, like, I think he needs to get a little bit of momentum going into the Masters, because that is where he's mentally affected. That is where you see more of the lack of freedom that he plays with show up. And I think he needs to mentally and physically be like really kind of feeling himself going in. I mean, let's say he wins 2 of the next 3, and then all of a sudden it's like, you have so much momentum and so much mental like confidence going into Augusta, which he hasn't. Has he really had that? I guess when he won the Players in 2019, maybe.
Well, you know what else? I mean, if he wins 2 of his next 3, you know what else that will create is a lot of expectation and a lot of Rory McIlroy career Grand Slam conversation.
Yeah, maybe that works the other way. Maybe that's bad for him. I don't know. But I'm excited for this week. I'm excited for players. I think that, just to gather all these guys, and we said it coming into this year, right? We said the thing that we were looking forward to most was these elevated events. And I think, like Patrick said, you especially see it at post Riviera and Phoenix, because those are always pretty good fields. This one's up there too. You'll really see it at Heritage and like Wells Fargo. Those will be fields where you're like, whoa, like this is kind of disorienting. But I'm excited for this week. I'm interested to see if I think we all probably believe that Rory's going to top 10 and kind of do his usual thing at Bay Hill. If he putts well, he'll win. But if he doesn't, I think there's some kind of interesting talking points going into the rest of March and into April.
The man in the middle of the Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy sandwich of world golf rankings is Scotty Scheffler, Patrick. And Scotty's just like refuses to lose golf tournaments. So obviously 4 wins last year, went for his first title defense ever in Phoenix. Yeah, check that one off. That one's done. What if you were to successfully defend 4 titles in it, that should be the Scotty Slam.
Those 4 titles, especially.
Yeah, that's a Scotty Slam if you successfully defend 4 titles in 1 year.
Yeah, I wonder how many people, professional golfers, have a 100% successful defense rate.
Well, 0, right? Well, actually, hold on. No, it would be is there an active player who has won the same event twice?
Maybe Matt Every.
Yeah.
But then he played it after that. He didn't successfully defend. But at one point, he would have had.
Yeah.
I'm certain Tiger's defended every title he's won.
Well, I doubt that.
No. Yeah, but you would have to defend it into perpetuity or retire, right?
Right. To have 100% rate, you would have to defend it into perpetuity or retire, right? Yes, exactly.
Scotty is on pace for that, which is pretty incredible. But yeah, looking back to his win, this one and Phoenix, the first ones, not this year's Phoenix, they're pretty similar, where he was kind of just hovering going into the weekend, and the course here just turned into an absolute brute. It was rock hard. I know Jon Rahm was complaining about it. Victor struggling out of the bunkers. Gary Woodland was right there at the end. He made like a double on 17, I think, after he made an eagle on 16. So it really turned into kind of U.S. Open test. And he was the last man standing with a couple clutch par saves there at the end. So he kind of gets lost in the shuffle just because I think his personality is a bit more flatlined, I would say, compared to Rahm. Like Rahm gets fiery on the golf course. Rory's great with the quotes with the media. And then Scotty's kind of just right there. We saw it at the end of the Phoenix Open when Amanda was trying to like evoke some emotion out of him. And he's just like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I like to win golf tournaments. So he's easy to pass over, but the skill isn't. I mean, he's still top 2 in the world, and he'll probably contend this week.
I think sometimes because of his personality, it almost detracts from how good he is, because he is more just, he doesn't get too high or too low. And Patrick, you look at last 50 rounds, he's the best ball striker in the field, and it's a pretty freaking good field. Just in terms of these are all the best ball strikers in the world. So he's been the best of the best. And I think we haven't thought about him like that very much recently, I guess, until him winning Phoenix a couple weeks ago.
That's such a good point, because I'd agree that he's so softly spoken and so kind of, under the radar personality wise that no one pays attention. But the folks who really watch the game, I think his technique kind of confuses folks into thinking he's not very good, because, he's sort of got this idiosyncratic golf swing and his feet all over the show. And whenever there's a broadcast on, even mine, sadly, there's focus on the footwork. And so it's like, well, this is not right. And, Rory makes it look glorious and John Rahm's powerful and stuff like that, where Scotty hits it, man. And when he hits the thing, it goes. And he's awfully reliable, even though he looks a little ungainly at times. And as a result, I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And then you add to all of that stuff, his powers of recovery are crazy. And again, not because he's got all of the shots in the world like a Spieth or someone like that. He's competitive. He finds a way, and he does it every single time he plays.
To put a bow on the title defense success rate conversation, Andrew in the chat with a great pull. So he says Sam Burns. Now, Sam Burns won Valspar, successfully defended it, and it has not come up again for title defense since then. That'll come up in 2 weeks.
But he didn't defend Sanderson, right?
That's the problem. That's where this falls apart. He did also, so he still is the reigning champion of Charles Schwab, so he would not have to defend that until May. The problem is the year after he won the Sanderson, he finished T30, did not defend that. But that's probably as close as we've got as far as active players go.
He needs to never play the Valspar again. Perfect 2 for 2. We're on to the next one. We're on to Cincinnati.
We're on to Cincinnati.
He might not. I mean, I guess you have to play it if you're the defending champ.
No, you do not. Not when it's the week after. It's the week after the Players, right?
Well, here's the scenario, Rick. It could be. I bet he plays it this year. I bet he plays it this year. Well, let's say the tour. I have no idea if this is going to happen. Let's say the tour adds. Go ahead, Mark.
If a guy's won the thing twice, in fact, if they've won it once, they're going back. They're like the golf course. You don't stumble into a victory on the PGA Tour. Now, yes, with these elevated events this year, there may be some creative scheduling on the go, but I would be prepared to bet another bottle of wine that this guy's going to go back to Valspar. Anybody else?
No, I think he will too. But let's say, what if the tour adds 2 elevated events next year, and all of a sudden you have to play 15? I have no idea if that's going to happen. I think it could. Then maybe he wouldn't, right? Unless they make Valspar one of them.
You go to the places you play well. You'll hear it. On the other side of the coin, Kevin Kisner will say, man, I want to avoid the US Opens and stuff, and I want to play Travelers and Colonial and RBC Heritage until the end of my days because the golf course fits my game.
If I agree with you, I think Sam Burns will probably go to Valspar this year, which would be Arnold Palmer, Players Championship, Valspar, presumably match play, 4 in a row.
That's a lot.
Week off, Masters, RBC Heritage, which is an elevate. So that would be 6 out of 7 if he goes back. And then Billy Horschel's not letting him get out of Zurich the next week, right? Billy's got him in a contract. That's 7 out of 8.
I think even for Horschel, I think Louisiana, New Orleans goes away.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying on Sunday about Sungjae. He needs to, catch a breather here. He's played 8 of 9, and we're about to hit the major stretch here.
That is a breather for Sungjae.
It's ridiculous. You took Pebble off.
I mean, to that point, I'm really interested. Tiger talked about this at Riviera. I'm really interested to see. I sound like Tiger. I'm really interested to see what the schedule looks like for next year. Like what, and this is where I think the tour has been maybe purposefully kind of quiet. I don't know. And maybe we'll hear more about this at the Players Championship next week, but there needs to be some real transparency and clarity around, okay, this is how you get into non-elevated events. This is how you get into elevated events. And to lean into that context that I was talking about earlier, because I think that just provides such good storylines and narratives for your league. Essentially just context for your league. And I hope that and I think they probably will move some of those elevated events around. And it's going to be, I think 2024 is going to be, Tiger said this again, I think it's going to look not substantially different, but decently different from what 2023 looks like.
I completely agree, especially because remember, they told us the elevated events after the schedule had already been released. And now I think with an opportunity to say, okay, we'll get our elevated events, but we got to space them out a little bit better. We got to make sure we're not, making guys play 4 straight weeks going into major championships. We'll have some, I think it's going to be quite different.
Well, and you're definitely playing Tetris, right? Because you're trying to satiate all these different stakeholders between sponsors and players and tournament organizers and cities, and it's a not an enviable job. And somebody was saying this to me on Twitter today, that they didn't think that sponsors would be lining up to basically sponsor these down weeks or these down events. And I agree. Like, I don't know that Microsoft is standing in line to pay $8 million to, for Eric Cole and Chris Kirk to battle it out at PGA National. But I think that's such a short-term mindset. You have to take the long-term approach of, hey, this contextualization of our league is making the overall product better. And in the end, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, that's going to be a good thing. And there's going to be more money at the end of this, even if in the short term, you lose a little bit.
Bingo. Yep. That's exactly right. Speaking of having a good product right now, Patrick, Jon Rahm's product, better than basically everybody else's. Win at Riv, win at the American Express, win at the Tournament of Champions. That's 3 of his last 5. If you want to start looping in the DP World Tour, you get another one in Dubai, another one in Spain, and obviously the betting favorite heading into the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
And he has an opportunity here to kind of add a little bit more history as one of the few players to win each player invitational event. I think Ernie Els did it, Hale Irwin, Freddie Couples. I think those are the only 3 to have won each of them. So a win here, he adds his name to that list. And he was talking today about playing the course as well that Tiger plays well. And Mark kind of already touched on it with all the trouble left. And he's like, I can miss right here all day long and be fine. So he loves it. So I mean, there's nothing really wrong you can say about Jon Rahm. His driving numbers are trending a little down. We saw it a little bit at the Genesis, relative for Jon Rahm, that is. But I mean, he's putting the lights out of the ball, and the iron play is red hot.
You should tell him that, because the last time you told him that his stats were trending down, he then gained 7 strokes putting every single week.
I know. Many people are saying this Jon Rahm run is because of Patrick McDonald.
Yeah. I've heard that quite a bit. Mark, I'll loop you into this conversation and also talk a little bit about the golf course. Bay Hill, I was reading today, they've got the rough up to 4 inches, and obviously it's going to be firm and fast. And there's a ton of wind in the forecast on Friday. And it's going to ask a lot of these guys.
It always is. Mr. Palmer took pride in his place being difficult, and for a while it was him and Jack Nicklaus kind of battling it out, just like they used to with golf clubs in their hands, to who was going to put forth the most difficult test in either Muirfield Village or Bay Hill. And look, even when it's receptive, that place is all you want. It's long, it's demanding. You've got a bunch of long irons. Long. Yeah, and it's demanding, and lots of long irons and stuff like that. And the fairways are narrow. I don't think TV does justice to how narrow the fairways actually are. And 4 inches, man, I've been there at times where it's been like US Open like. And they've got this rye over seed that it tends to hold a lot of moisture. So oftentimes, if you drive it in there, it's kind of wedging back out. So it's, in a strange way, it's a U.S. Open at times in Florida. And unlike a lot of U.S. Opens, which have bent grass greens, this place has got the Champions Bermuda that they can suck the moisture out, and those things get firm and quick. So it's a test from tee to green and from head to toe. It's all you want. And it's really a good prep, in my opinion, for the Players' Championship the following week too.
Mark, explain to me the difference between the way you have to drive it at Phoenix and Riviera and the way you can drive it at Bay Hill, because it seems to me, and maybe this isn't true, I'm curious about your take on it. It seems to me like you can kind of be more, I don't know if wild is the right word, but you can kind of spray it a little bit more off the tee on certain holes at Bay Hill and get away with it a little bit more so than you can at Phoenix and Riviera. Do you agree, disagree? Am I way off on that?
I kind of disagree a bit, and I'll tell you why. At Phoenix, you've got desert on either side of the golf course. But between, cacti on either side, you've probably got 60 yards. If you drive it in the rough there, it's not the end of the world because the putting surfaces are massive. Now, I know they've got a whole bunch of movement on there, but to advance the ball to the green for those guys from in that rough over there, it's not a big deal. And remember, it's at elevation some, so the ball really travels. Riviera is there are areas of it that are like channels, like you get holes like 11 and 12 and 13, that you've got these massive blue gums on either side, and you have to fit balls into the fairway, and they're always tilted. So that's what makes driving the ball in the fairway hard there, because you could hit a fade against a draw hole, and it just sort of just runs through the elbow of a dogleg. Bay Hill's straight in front of you. I mean, this thing is long and it's straight, and there's heavy rough on either side. And unlike a lot of PGA Tour places where it's like some rough and then gallery lines, and if you hit it wide of that, you got a decent lie. You can't do that at Bay Hill because beyond the ropes on a lot of the holes is out of bounds. So you got to be pretty good off the tee here. And if you look at guys, I don't know what the numbers bear out, Rick, but from my kind of just experience, guys who drive it well have had success around there. And so I think a lot of it is because on either side of the hole there's trouble, and the rough is just always so punitive. It's not like you could get a 5-iron onto the green a whole bunch of times. You're playing defense from the rough.
At least in the model that I run, there's a million ways you can run models. Club head speed was more closely correlated to success than basically any other stat over the last handful of years. You know who really?
Club head speed means power. Power means you get shorter clubs into the greens. Shorter clubs out of the rough are way easier than medium irons, like I said. And so, yeah, if you can hit the stuff hard, and they typically hit the ball high too, if you've got good club head speed, and higher on hard greens, firm greens, means the ball, you can stop the thing quicker. So
I think rough. It's interesting that Fitzpatrick has played so well there. I mean, I know he's gotten faster, obviously, but him and Hatton have both, they're not, you don't think of those two guys first in terms of club head speed. You do maybe like with weather, with wind and conditions, but both those guys have had a lot of success there.
That's a really good pull. And to my estimations, the reason why the Euros do well there is because that time of the year, it's blustery and gusty in central Florida. And so you're playing in winds and you got to flight the ball a little bit. But also, if you're driving the ball in the rough some, and it starts to wear on your last nerve, right? And both those two guys are sort of blue chip battlers. Now, Fitzpatrick, it is. Hatton makes it look like a bit of a circus, but he's a tough out, and he's going to fight you till his last nerve. And so I think the fact that they got this sort of stick-to-itiveness, this kind of blue-collar thing about them, that's why they do well around there.
We'll put a bow on John Rahm with this, Patrick. I'm sure you remember that Scotty Scheffler set the single-season PGA Tour money record last year. Remember that?
How could I forget? Yeah.
Right.
14 something.
14 okay, let's play. Closest without going over to Scotty Scheffler's 2022 official PGA Tour earnings. Kyle, go, please.
Not including FedEx Cup, right?
Correct. Official money only. That is bonus money.
I'll say 14.4.
Kyle's guess is 14,400,000. Patrick.
Without going over?
That is correct.
Damn, that's a good guess, Kyle. 5 times 2.
Thanks, Patrick.
14.41. No, let's go.
That's a dirty.
14.8.
14,800,000.
Plus dirty.
Mark Immelman.
I'm not good at this stuff. 14 million.
Well, if you're going to go 14, you should have just said $1. Because that would have given you everything up to. But
again, I'm not good at this stuff.
It is still going to work out because the other two went over. $14,046,910. Mark closest without going over. Guess what, gentlemen? John Rahm's already at 9.8 million. We haven't played a major championship yet, so I'll send it back to you.
But the majors take you down.
That's true. It's just whoever's going to win the Wells Fargo, the Travelers, the whatever.
Yeah, we need a. I don't know. It's a cool stat. It's a cool category. We need a normalization though. We need something.
Invent it right now. Percentage of purses won.
What about like distance per shot or something.
Oh, please do not do this. You'll trigger me so hard. You will trigger me so hard if we do distance.
I was trying to sneak that one in when you were talking clubhead speed.
What an just preposterous thing. What are we trying to do there? Like the idea. Okay, I gotta just go for a second on this. The idea that you can't, like, listen, I understand that my dad doesn't understand. I don't even know if this is true. I need to ask him. I'm supposed to call my parents tonight. Maybe I'll ask him. If my dad doesn't understand strokes gained and like how it's just your score compared to the rest of the field, whatever. Like, my dad's just a regular golf fan. It doesn't matter. It's not as if it's not as if regular golf fans are like running media companies and dealing with world rankings. Like, we're dealing with people that should know this stuff. And so you're either dumb, which is not true. These are not dumb people, or you're willfully ignorant. Why are you zooming in on Rick? Zoom in on me. I'm the one that's yelling. Figure it out, Josh. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just math. Like, why does math not work?
So for those who have no idea what we're talking about, SI Golf released their own ranking system. SI Golf, bless their hearts, right? I mean, they stepped in it here. That's okay. They do great work. They stepped in it here, where they came up with their own ranking system, and instead of using strokes gained, which they said cannot be done on all tours, which
impossible,
it can be. They also introduced their very own new statistic that is going to revolutionize golf rankings: distance per shot. And I said, distance per shot? That's so stupid. That can't possibly mean what I think it means. No, it does. So they're saying that if you have a golf course that is 7,000 yards and it takes you 70 strokes, that is 100 in distance per shot. So that means shooting lower scores on longer golf courses makes you a better golfer, taking into account nothing else at all. It is actually, I'm so sorry, I don't usually have hot takes like this, the dumbest thing I've ever read on the internet.
I kind of love it. Like, a very good publication just like does that. Like, you don't have to respect it, but kind of almost do. Like, because it's so bad. And like, it has to go through levels of review and everything. And everyone, they're just like, distance per shot.
We've done it again.
Yeah.
Rick, I've got to say this with two writers on the show alongside me. That stuff that they vomited onto a page somewhere is a lot of the reason why I don't read a lot of the stuff that's written. Because folks are just, it's honestly, Kyle, it's just clickbait. Go with me. It's just folks trying to get clicks, surely.
No, I think that's a really good point, Mark, because I think part of what's, oh God, I sound like I'm 80. Part of what's wrong with the internet and media and like this whole world that we're in is that there's so much clutter and junk that nobody wants to wade through it all to find the good stuff. There is good stuff out there, right? Like, that exists. And we have kind of sorted through some of the stuff in our world to find the good stuff. But if I go into another world, like if I dive into anything, just like movies, I don't know where to go to find the good stuff. I'm Googling things and most of it's junk. And so that's one, I think, tremendous downside of the internet, Mark, is that I don't know how I'm talking about like the history of the internet right now, but it's that there's a series
of tubes, Kyle.
Well, is that there's so much stuff that gets created because it democratized information that nobody wants to wade through it all, so we just give up on it. And I think that's a fair point that you're making.
Thank you, man. I feel good now.
I'm gonna need a therapy session after this.
I'm scared to look at the comments right now. I don't know what people are saying.
The actual we don't need to go into this, but the best case scenario is they made a silly little mistake and somebody signed off on it, Kyle. The worst case scenario is that they worked in collaboration with the Live guys via the LA Golf sponsorship to try to come up with a reputable ranking system that actually advanced their own agenda. That's the malicious side of this, outside the fact that the math didn't math.
Hey.
Well, to to that point, for people that don't know, the LA Golf Partnership, which was done in collaboration with SI, Bryson DeChambeau and Dustin Johnson are on the board at LA Golf, which is not a great look at best, I would say, in terms of like creating a new ranking system. I understand that's how the original ranking system started. That's not what it is today. It's stewarded by the organizations that matter in golf. And to say that the SI Golf World, I mean, the KPMGR, the Kyle Porter Monday Golf Rankings are as credible as the SI World Golf Rankings. They just are. Like, I'm sorry.
Hey, did you see, and what you say there, Rick, the malicious intent? I hate to say it's possible, but it's probable. I mean, did you see the tweet the other day from whoever it was that happened to end up in my
this is not a good start.
Did you see the tweet the other day from whoever it was?
Because there's Live Insider and there's Live Golf this and there's Inside Live League and all these things like this.
Yeah.
They ranked Pat Perez, God love him, as a
top.
That's
is
a troll.
Mark.
You've been baited.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
this is what you're talking about. This is why you don't engage.
Okay.
That is not in good. That is not in good. In good conscience. Was that
good faith? Yeah.
And Pat Perez, I mean, top 20, but not top 10.
Like, in all seriousness, Rick. Yeah, very good, Patrick. In all seriousness, Rick, the distance per shot thing. Like, I guess explain to people why it's such a, like, compared to strokes gained, why it's such a bad thing. To me, it's because you're trying to compare, you're not comparing players against each other, right? You're comparing them against courses, and it just doesn't, it's too simplistic, right? Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, the strokes gain system, and to be clear, the strokes gain total system, where you are just looking at an average of scores on a given day, that can be retrofit to every golf tournament ever played. You can go back and look at the 1956 third round at the Masters and get the strokes gained for that. It's a way to comp.
I did this. I looked it up for the 19, I think it was 36 Masters. Horton Smith gained 17 and a half strokes against the field. It's just math.
Correct. It's just math. There's no magic to it. There is not a series of lasers or cameras that are needed to capture it. It is literally just saying how much better or worse than the field average were you. That is literally it. And it's good because it takes into account things like, Torrey Pines, the day that Brandt Snedeker won, played to an 81. But when you get prime conditions, guys go out there on the North Course and shoot 5, 6, 7, 8 under par. So it takes into account all that. This distance per shot, it would be like if I was introduced to a sport that I've never seen before, and they said, Rick, come up with a system to figure out who's better than another. Because I would say, a longer golf course has to be more difficult. That is clearly not the case. It does not take into account, first off, elevation. It does not take into account 9-inch rough. It does not take into account U.S. Open. Kapalua is what? 7,700 yards, plays closer to 7,000, and is one of the easiest golf courses these guys are going to go to. But if they go to Riviera or even Harbortown or Marriott, like, it's just there is just 9 million factors that are not being taken into account.
Well, and to your point, take the Torrey example. So the stroke average on Saturday, Sunday at Torrey was 81 when Snedeker wins. If you're using strokes gained, it takes that into account, right? It takes into account the conditions that everybody else is playing in. If you're using distance per shot, it doesn't take that into account at all, right?
Correct. Yeah. If you get 50-mile-an-hour winds on a short golf course and you shoot the best round of the day, you will actually be penalized more because your distance per shot was worse than someone who did not play that event at all.
Right. Which is...
You're on mute, Mark.
It's just absurd. Go ahead, Mark.
It's my first time on the Tuesday show in a while. I forgot about the mute button. Just got to say this, just to put a bow on it. Yes, what you say is absolutely correct. I'm so glad you're thinking this way because, as you well know, you cannot convince me that all 175-yard approach shots are the same. And you can't tell me that all 20-foot putts are the same, or even all 5-foot putts are the same, or all 300-yard drives are the same. Yes, you got the bell curve thing about it, where it's a blanket sort of a comparison, and it's better than what we've had. but still, you can't hang your hat on the argument, because every player who plays the game at this sort of level will tell you, man, there's sometimes they'll rather hit a shot from 100 yards in the fairway, 150 yards in the fairway versus, 100 yards in some ankle high rough or whatever, even though they're closer to a left front pin with a bunker behind it.
900 things that don't get accounted for in a simple distance per shot calculation. We will account for all 900 and then some with our best bets and one and done selections. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Let's go. You can feel the madness.
And we're back. Two quick items. KP, thanks to a big week last week, you are back in the black. You are thriving.
It's great.
Continue your excitement, my man.
That's Kirk interview there. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler-esque.
Yeah. It was humorously or coincidentally, I was not on the podcast after maybe my most successful week of golf bets ever. So I don't know if you guys talked about that, but yeah, Chris Kirk did me some good last week because I had him in a bunch of different places. So I don't need to get out over my skis here because Patrick probably chase me down, but yeah, I'm excited. We're taking it one tournament at a time. Excited with where we're at.
I must say, Chris Kirk last week, Kyle, that was a genius pull. I was impressed very much.
Thank you.
The other item is Mark is now making his Tuesday debut, so there will be a new line, Mark, right there at the bottom of the spreadsheet. Track you wanted this. We're now going to track everything you do for every Tuesday.
The nerves are off the charts right now. Hold on, my heart rate's flying according to my Whoop reading. I'm so nervous.
All right, here's what we do for the best bets. We go to Caesars Sportsbook and we take our 100 little nuggets that Josh gives us. We put 50 of them on a matchup, 30 on a finishing position, and 10 each on two separate outrights. Mark, we're just going to seed the stage and let you have this thing first crack. Your matchup, please, for this week's Arnold Palmer Invitational.
I picked that one just to wind Kyle up a little bit. I'm going with Lowry over Spieth.
No, I actually agree.
Okay.
Spieth might be the lost boy again. It's not great.
Well, I spent 27 holes with Shane Lowry last week, and his game looks fairly sound, and he puts the greens there in Florida well. And more than anything else, I mean, he was quite chatty on the golf course and seemed like he's in a good space. So I like Lowry this week. Do you want me to go across the board?
No, I do not.
No.
I will move along on our matchups here. So Lowry over Jordan Spieth, even money. Patrick, will go to you and look at this. This didn't work out for you before. You're going to go back to fading Tom Kim.
Somehow Tom Kim always figures out a way into my picks. Incorrectly, I mind you. But yeah, Keith Mitchell minus 120 over Tom Kim. Just a guy who's playing well, a pretty good course fit, a pair of top 6 finishes here over the last 4 years, had a couple top 5s on the West Coast. He's a Georgia boy, so he likes this part of the country. Won the Honda Classic in 19, so likes Florida. And Tom Kim, big ballpark. His numbers are regressing a little bit ball striking wise. So give me Keith Mitchell minus 120.
Minus 120 over Tom Kim. Kyle, you and I are going head to head.
Yes.
The matchup is Keegan Bradley and Corey Connors. I have chosen the Keegan Bradley side. You say not so fast. You've taken the Corey Connors side.
Just an astonishing amount of putts will be missed in this matchup.
Oh my gosh, yeah, these two, my God.
I mean, Bradley is kind of low key playing, not low key. He is playing very well. Connors is low key playing well, and he plays pretty well at Bay Hill. I think he's got 2 top 15s in his last 3 starts, maybe each of his last 2 starts. But yeah, I'm taking the plus money basically.
Connors has gone T11 and 3rd in his last 2. Keegan missed the cut here 11 years ago and has made 10 in a row since then. Keegan loves himself a little Bay Hill. Yeah, these are 2 really strong, solid members of Team No Putt. and
Yep.
we'll be on opposite sides of them.
Who's the captain of? Like who's the if
boy.
there's a Ryder Cup?
Luke List.
Corey
Oh
Connors.
yeah.
Connors is up there. Luke List might be the captain.
Genesis was bad.
Luke List
List
lost
might be
7 strokes putting and gained 11 in the ball striking categories at Riviera.
He might be like a lifetime member of
Hall of Famer. Yeah.
That should be a contest on its own.
Those
Lucas
are my
Glover.
rankings. My Monday
The no
rankings
putt cup.
are the team no putt ranks.
Lucas Glover has to be on there.
Yeah, there's a lot. Finishing positions. KP, I'll bounce it right back here to you. Any finishing position for any golfer that you'd like? Where'd you go?
Yep, I've got Sung Jae top 20. He's finished in the top 21 4 straight years here. He's playing really good golf. I say that I didn't see where he finished at the Honda last week. Up until then, he had been playing really good golf, and I think he's kind of coming in a little underrated.
Patrick thinks he's playing too much golf. Patrick, you went with a resurgence candidate. Who'd you go with?
Ricky Fowler, top 20, plus 270. Since the start of 2023, strokes gained approach, Xander Schauffele, John Rahm, Tom Hoagie, Ricky Fowler right there. So give me the Rickster this week for a top 20.
Plus 270 if he finishes on the first 2 pages of the leaderboard. I went a little bit deeper. Top 40, Sam Ryder. Had that close call at Farmers and then finished T20 at both the elevated events in Phoenix and LA. He's feeling himself right now. Be inside the top 40. Get yourself plus 165. Mark, you're on my side, my friend, because you've got Keegan Bradley here.
First off, pop quiz. Sam Ryder went to college just down the road from Bay Hill. Where was it?
He didn't go to Flagler.
We talked about this.
No, he went to hold on.
Did he go to Ryder?
He went to Jacksonville.
No.
Stetson.
There we go. The Hatters. Yeah, he's a good pick around there. Really is.
Thank
Comfortable with Central Florida. Lives just up the way. I think in like maybe Heathrow, Florida, or somewhere. Yeah, I'm
thinking of where did Russell Knox go? That's who I was thinking of.
Jacksonville.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm with you, Rick. You mentioned that he's made 10 cuts in a row. The last couple goes there at Bay Hill. Keegan's had a 10th. A couple tenths right around that area a little bit. He's been relevant. And man, the guy's playing great this year. He won in the fall. And you know me, I've got my underrated flushers list. There it is. And Keegan is on that list. And man, the way he hits it and with the confidence right now. And I got to say this, I hate to make it about size and wellness, but he's lost so much weight. I saw him the other day. He looks so healthy and so trim that 72 holes and an extended stretch of golf, I think, is not going to affect him too much. So I'm loving Keegan this week.
Keegan Bradley, top 20 plus 210, T11, T10 in his last 2 trips to Bay Hill. I don't know if I told this story, but when we were at Torrey Pines, Sam Ryder goes out, shoots 8 under in round 1. He's the first round leader. Armina and I are in the gym Friday morning, and the guys are in there working out or whatever. And Armina's using this machine, and Sam Ryder asked if she's done and if he can use it, and she goes, "No, I'm not done with that yet." I'm like,
hell yeah,
this guy's in the lead of the golf tournament. Like, let him get his reps in. He needs to do his thing right now.
She's
Don't
like,
also in the gym.
Also, I saw this in your chipping stroke. If you want to throw that in there.
She was like, "Oh, I didn't know that was it." I was like, "Oh boy, okay, tough scene." Guy can't even get the machine. He's leading Torrey. 2 outrights. So $10 on each of these. Kyle, we'll go to you. You found us a winner last week. Where would you go this week?
Yeah, I actually, after seeing Patrick's, I would like to change one of mine. Is that legal? Is this different than the one and done?
Yeah, come on in. The water's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Change it.
Okay. I'm going to go away from Rory and throw Cam Young in at 36-1, only because of the number. I think Rory's going to play well this week, but Cam Young at 36 is enticing. And then I've got Big Tone at 20. He's been playing just really consistently solid golf for 8 months now. And he hasn't won this year. So I think people are it's just so easy to forget about guys that haven't won even in like 6 months. And I guess for him, it's been like 5 months, but I like him at 20-1. It's a good ballpark for him.
That is Cam Young and Tony Finau, Big Tone, Hunky Tony for Kyle. Mark, your 2 outrights are both 28-1. Who are they, please? Oh boy, tough scene. You're on mute.
Only twice. My dog Cletus has just had leg surgery, so he's whimpering outside my door. So I'm trying to not. He's got the cone of shame going on. It's a sad deal. I'm going with the English connection this week, as I had mentioned earlier in the show. But I took a lot for me to look away from Rory and Rahm, just the way Rory plays the course, and of course the way Rahm's playing. But with Matthew Fitzpatrick, he's had success here before. Tyrrell Hatton is naturally too. And whereas Fitzpatrick is not playing great, the last time Tyrrell was out that I saw him play at Phoenix, I thought he looked really solid. And so they're comfortable around the golf course. It's the kind of place where, with it being windy on Friday morning, that's the forecast. It's going to be gusty and kind of nasty. That I get the sense that it's going to take a little stick-to-itiveness, and as I mentioned, they both have healthy doses of that. So I'm going with the Englishman.
Fitzy and Tyrrell Hatton. I'll go with a couple of flushers. Colin Morikawa, Will Zalatoris. Patrick, I use the latter, Willie Z, to get you into your picks for this week.
Going with a couple Demon Deacons, a couple Arnold Palmer Award winners as well. Will Zalatoris, 20-1. Final round 64 at the Genesis. Ball striking looks good. And since the beginning of 2023, 25th in strokes gained putting in this field. Very, very sneaky. And then Cameron Young, 36-1. I think he is using a similar putter as Zalatoris these days. The short game's been kind of iffy, but if Victor Hovland can kind of figure out around the greens here, I think Cameron Young can too.
We don't need the Victor drive-by. Not do that. It's fine. All right, gents. That is Zalatoris, Rory, Fitzy, Hatton, Finau. Sorry, scratch the Rory. Insert a second Cam Young and Colin Morikawa as the outrights for the boys. Now we take our extra 50 bones and we put it on anything in the entire world that we would like. And Mark, you always find us something quite creative, whether it's a no playoff bet, whether it is a nationality wager. What do you have for us this week?
Well, I like a good prop bet.
Yes.
And I've been to this event a bunch, calling it in the past for radio, and it always seemed like I seemed to have the winner. And when I was in radio, I had a bunch of legends of the industry, and I was always kind of the chase guy. I never got the final group really, unless I had the leader on Saturday, which was ordinarily not the case because I always had the chase group. And at this event, I just remember having a lot of my winner's flag being signed by guys at Bay Hill because I had some guy that chased down the lead. So I definitely noticed a trend there that with the way the golf course goes, you've got 14, which is tough, the par 4, then 15, anything can happen on the 5. 16, I should say. 15 is a tough 4, 14 is a tough 3, and then 17 is just a mean par 3, and 18, of course, is 18. And oftentimes, if conditions are a little blustery and such, if you get a score in, oftentimes it holds up because finishing over there is challenging because you see leaderboards everywhere, it. And so for someone who hasn't really been there very much, or even someone who has, if there's a score in and you kind of know what the drill is, the only real gift hold is 16, the par 5. Otherwise, it's coming at you. So I like the finisher to post. So I think at plus 200, that's worth a little flutter.
That's right. Plus 200 that the winner will not be in the final group. KP, what is your best wager on the board? Also, you're carrying us here in the best bets as well. You're our mogul at the moment.
Yeah. Golf betting mogul is how I make my kids refer to me. Jason Day, top 20. Jason Day, he's been playing just tremendous golf. And if you look at just stats across, like since January 1, he's like a top 6, top 7 guy in the world. So I like him to finish in the top 20. I think he's got 3 straight top 10s, maybe 2 in a row, plus 125 to finish in the top 20.
On the Mark podcast, look out for it. It's out
there you go.
On the Mark, wherever you get your podcasts. Garrett Kigo, top 40 at 2-1 for me. He's playing great golf. That's all. That's what you got to do. Finish inside top 40, and you get yourself 2-1. Patrick, put a bow on our best bets and double down on something you have already hit.
Killer Keith Mitchell, minus 120 over Tom Kim. I kind of want Keith Mitchell to make this Ryder Cup team in Rome. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think it'd be electric, and we'd be able to get one of those big visors with USA on it.
Oh, boy. Name the visors on tour.
Bo,
Yep.
Keith,
Yep.
Lebiota.
Yep.
Poulter.
That doesn't count.
Ooh.
Wrong tour.
And I'll double down on that. The Keith visor is actually like a velour material. It's not just plain cotton. It's got like a little texture to it. It is hype.
No surprise. No
He is
surprise.
the best dressed on tour by far. Speaking of which, that Rory long sleeve polo that he wore at the Genesis, what do you guys think of that?
I'm out. I'm out.
Really?
Hey, do you know it was cashmere? It was a shirt made of cashmere.
Interesting.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, you guys are far younger and more fashionable than I am. The only long sleeves I need are on hoodies.
No.
Like,
Okay.
Well, the thing
like
is, this is okay, but this is lighter than a hoodie, but still, it's not warm enough for the full on polo.
just the long sleeve polo, it's tough. I just personally, it's a personal take.
Tough.
The only other visor I could think of is Spencer Levine.
Oh, legend.
What a pull.
Thank you.
The Happy Gilmore putting.
Okay.
What about the sleeves?
Yeah, we saw him in Phoenix, didn't we?
Yeah, he's always on a visor.
I
course
can't
you
pull
guys
off the
did.
visor. I've got very limited headwear. I can't do the rope hats. I can't do the visors. Beanies I can do, but it's generally not cold enough.
Can you go 5950? I feel like we talked about this.
No, I have to go with like the 3950 or whatever it is.
Yeah. So my son is on the he's playing baseball and he's on the Pirates and I'm helping coach. I just ordered a Pirates 59. Well, it's like there's a new thing. It's like a low profile 5950,
I like that.
which I think is better.
Yeah.
So it's still a 5950, but it's not like up here.
Yeah, I see. I need the low profile. The unstructured look is generally the look I go for. Okay, gents, just one final thing to do, and it is arguably the biggest thing that we do. It is sent shockwaves across the industry. It has been an epic piece of content. It's the one and done. We'll hit that, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Italy's best clubs and brightest stars bring show-stopping skills and unbelievable thrills in the fight to the finish for the Scudetto. Stream every Serie A match live on Paramount Plus.
And we're back, one and done. So last week we had 8 separate selections. Nobody earned more than $88,000. If anybody makes $88,000 this week, they're in trouble. I believe we have only a pair of us sharing golfers. Let's start from the bottom up. Sia Nejad, $1 million, has taken Max Homa. And Patrick, I don't want to out Sia, but I'm going to.
You have to.
The drama about whether he could get his pick in or not on time.
Did he botch this again?
Producer
It required Josh texting him 15 minutes before we went live, which I said I would not have done. But without a nudge, we would have another Sia whiff.
It's almost like a running joke at this point. He's doing it on purpose. And in the precedent that the new guy, Josh, just laid out for the lawyer himself.
I know.
It's a dangerous game, slippery slopes.
I think it's a play. He's just trying to stay in the cellar and just sort of justify himself a little bit now, so you don't get the
Might be
pick.
true. It might be true.
Could be true.
Mark, you're the one that provided the example for him to do this.
Come on now.
That's a good point, Kyle.
Kyle M, 1.9 million, has opted for Tony Finau. He will be the lone wolf. Sia will be a lone wolf as well. Greg and Patrick back-to-back 2.5, 2.8. Patrick, you will retain your lead over Greg no matter what, because you have both gone with Will Zalatoris.
Yeah, very excited to know I won't be at the bottom of the leaderboard this time next week, which is huge. And Greg's the one who picked Justin Rose to pick to win Pebble Beach, so it's got some magic in there. So Willie Z, let's do it.
KP, here we go. 3.1 million. You have gone with a big old bopper, Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, I like being lone wolf with Scotty. Number 2 player in the world, defending champion. He's played this tournament twice, finished T10 in 2020, and then obviously won it last year. So I'm feeling pretty good right now.
You as well as I, 5.8 million all by myself with a guy who rolls out of bed and wins this golf tournament. Put another red cardigan on Rory McIlroy and let's go to the top of the leaderboard.
That's what I think Rory should play in, is a red cardigan.
Oh.
That would, I'm in on that.
I think that if you've won a piece of outerwear in a tournament, that you then have to wear it every time you play the tour. You have to wear your
Tiger has to play the Masters in 5 jackets.
That's right.
That would be tough.
He's very aware that way. If you watch him, if you pay attention, like the year he won that I called him here, the one day was St. Patrick's Day, and he wore a green shirt out there. And then the Players' Championship, when he won on the final day, he had the gold underside of his shoes, with a gold swinging man for the trophy. He knows. Rory's aware of this sort of stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me if he went with a red cardigan on the final day.
Tell me that Rory is self-aware.
He's aware of himself.
Jury's out.
You know what color he wore at the final round of the 2022 Tour Championship?
Green.
Green, baby.
Oh, it was green?
Give me that money. Give me that 18 mil.
I was thinking of 20. Oh, when did he win at 19? I think he was in pink.
That sounds about right.
Ryan Moore.
That was 16. That was green also.
Oh my God.
Close enough. The fans. The only, is this right? 3 point? No, I guess I could get to Mark as well. But in striking distance of Mark, just 2.5 million back, the fans have opted to go with Matthew Fitzpatrick. Matty Fitzpatty dealing with the neck injury. I guess we'll see the status of Fitzpatrick's game. And Mark at the top, 8.8 million. You've gone. See, by my rules, he'd have to play in his cardigan with Tyrrell Hatton.
Yeah. I considered Fitzpatrick. Now I'm kind of wishing I did, just to kind of oust the fans another week. No, but Tyrrell, I love his game around here. Like I said, he played well a couple of weeks ago. He's just got that, screw you, I'm going to play well mentality about him. And when he comes to a place, a lot of the Englishmen live down there in Orlando. They've all got places there, so it's kind of comfortable. They stay with each other. They're staying in, it's not hotel rooms and stuff. So in many ways, the English guys tend to thrive around this golf course. And so I have a sense Tyrrell or Fitzy will go well this week, and hopefully it's Tyrrell.
Or maybe a Northern Irishman.
Rory. No, look, I mean, Rory took, like I said with you with the outright picks, it took a lot of discipline for me to look away from Rory. It really did.
I saw that.
At this stage in the game, are you looking in the rear view at all? Are you picking high ceiling guys, trying to fend off the pursuers? Or what's let me get in the mind of the man with the money bag next to his name.
Yeah. Honestly, I normally have a plan for the year, but I had to adjust that some. If you watch years past, I played the same folks at similar events, but just because I believe in the horses for courses kind of thing. But now with the elevated events, I'm sort of dotting the stars around between those a little, and thankfully it's worked out pretty well in the first couple 3. So hopefully it continues over the next run. Next week is going to be a tough pick for me though. I've got options and I'm not sure where to go.
For those just listening. From top to bottom, Mark, Tyrrell Hatton, the fans, Matt Fitzpatrick, Rick, Rory McIlroy, Kyle Porter, Scotty Scheffler, Patrick and Greg have both gone with Will Zalatoris, Kyle M, Tony Finau, Sia Nejad, Max Homa. Quickly, gentlemen, before we get out of here, throw me up the tee times. The tee times are out, please, Josh. Here are a couple of notables. Scotty Scheffler, Matt Fitzpatrick, Justin Thomas, Will Zalatoris will play with Victor Hovland, Jason Day. John Rahm will play with Xander Schauffele and Colin Morikawa, Justin Rose, Patrick Cantlay, and Ricky Fowler. And then finally at 12:50 p.m., I assume this is Eastern time, Max Homa, Rory McIlroy, Tyrrell Hatton going out together, Mark.
Hey, come and join us on ESPN Plus Thursday morning. We've got the main feed. We've got everyone going on, but that Scotty Scheffler, Fitzpatrick, Justin Thomas group is ours. It's a marquee group. And I'm working alongside John Swantek, who's the pro's pro. And we've got Robert Dameron on the course. Now, Dameron is a right at the best of times. He lives at Bay Hill. He plays the golf course every day, basically. I mean, he's got some incredible Arnold Palmer stories. So it'll be a fun Thursday morning if you're not at work, or if you're at work and you want to keep the golf on the sideline.
That's right. Being at work has never stopped me from watching. Patrick, which one of these groups stands out to you the most?
Ooh, I think the Homa, McIlroy, Hatton. I mean, you got two of the happiest guys in the world, and then Tyrrell. don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, the 1 year he won, he was flicking off the lake and,
Shotgun.
shooting it. Yeah.
He used his putter as a shotgun.
Yeah. So I'm pumped for that one.
He did that at Augusta National as well.
He hates every golf course.
Hates
Which
Augusta
I'm sure
National.
went over well.
As long as he's making birdies when he hates it, my one and done's gonna be fine.
Hates Riviera.
John Rahm, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, KP. That's pretty strong.
It's really good. I think the first one's the most intriguing though, because you got the defending champ, you got Fitzpatrick, who's played great at this course, and then you got JT, who both hasn't played in a while and hasn't played that well this year compared to his standard. I think that one is the one I'm probably most intrigued by out of this group.
Last time Justin Thomas played Bay Hill was 2015. He was like 110 pounds in 2015. He's now 120.
115.
Yeah.
120. Hey, one more thing, Rick.
Yes.
Jason Day in a feature group makes me excited. This guy, former world number one, injuries, told me on the interview that he did with me, he almost wanted to give up the game. He was battling so much, couldn't practice with injury and stuff. And to reinvent himself, to rebuild his golf swing, it is a mammoth effort. And I'm happy for him as a friend. I'm proud of him, and it's nice to see him being recognized for it now.
A year ago, I would have skewered the tour for having Jason Day, Justin Rose, and Ricky Fowler in these types of groups. But here we are. We've come full circle, and they absolutely deserve it, all three of them. Quick programming note. We're back, baby. Round by round recaps Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the foreseeable future. Please go ahead. Subscribe to the Golf on CBS YouTube channel. Make sure that you are subscribed and downloading. Again, I don't really care if you listen. Just download the episodes wherever you get podcasts, and we'll continue to pump this stuff out along the way. Final thoughts, questions, concerns before I shut this thing down.
Open qualifying starts this week. So like top 3 finishers not already qualified get in, right?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know. Is that I trust you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Top 3 not already qualified.
That's why you're one of the journalists I read, Patrick.
Oh, Mark, stop it.
Oh, he's blushing.
Kyle's right here. You're making him feel bad.
He knows I read him. I sit with my phone and my Twitter open waiting for Kyle to tweet. I even do it on the golf course.
What, you got the noties on.
My last thing is what's one non-major, I tweeted this out, speaking of, Mark, what's one non-major professional golf shot that you think about more often than you should? So can't have happened in a major championship.
I can answer that right now.
Give it to me.
Well, there's the Tiger Woods 8-iron out the bunker in Mexico around the tree up the hill. I was calling it. That shot was crazy. He sliced it like 40 yards. But the 3-iron that Johnny Vegas hit last week, I'm still getting chills from that thing. That was to watch that, to hear it, to see his reaction. It was. I said to him afterwards, it was one of my best shots I've seen, and he laughed at me. He goes, "It's probably the best shot he's ever hit." So I would go with the Vegas 3-iron on the final hole Friday.
I think a lot about Rahm dumping it into the drink at Sawgrass on, what is that, 11 or 12?
12.
Yeah.
Or 11. Yeah.
I think about that a lot. I also think, okay, I'll tell a quick story. So out at Riv 2 weeks ago, it was JT, Rory, Tiger Woods, and JT was over the green. I can't remember what day, Thursday or Friday, over the green on 5, and he is short-sighted. He's absolutely dead. The green is eye level. It's over. There's no way he's going to get up and down. He hits this unbelievable chippy, I don't even know, a chippy little flop. I don't even know how he pulled it off. Here's the sick part about it. Not a single person clapped nor cared, because the second it came off his club face, everyone looked at Tiger to see what he was going to do. That man sucks up all the oxygen in the entire world when he's on a golf course.
Yeah.
That was sick. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And he made the putt too.
Yeah, it was disgusting. Mine would be probably DJ's drive, Northern Trust playoff.
That was
How about
good.
DJ's drive at Kapalua that one year where he almost made it?
Brando called it the greatest golf shot of all time.
Well, I mean, John Rahm's not a good iron player, so you never know.
For sure. I gotta write a book of these, but
you literally could write a book about these.
Yeah, I should. Rory's 5-wood at PGA National in 14 when he won was pretty sick. I mean, I forgot who was on the call. Mark, you probably help me, but whoever it was, maybe Roger Maltby, I don't know, said it came down like
it would have been Maltby.
Yeah, said it came down like a sand wedge, and it was a 5-wood from like 240. I mean, just something stupid. And just the way he hit it, the way he went after it, it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty amazing shot.
Good call. I like that.
All right, that'll do it. See you all on Thursday after the final putt drops. Big thanks to producer Josh, does all the hard work behind the scenes. Patrick McDonald available on Twitter at Amateur Status. Mark, good to have you back at Mark_Immelman, Kyle Porter at Kyle Porter CBS. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.